This is the Meon Valley Christmas Trees plantation, and these trees, most of these trees were planted 2008 to 2010. They're Nordmann fir trees, which are now the biggest selling tree in the UK. And the big advantage they have is that they have these lovely bushy needles, and also they're renowned for the fact that the needles don't drop. So with a traditional Norway spruce tree, particularly in centrally heated houses, the needles would tend to fall off maybe within 3 or 4 weeks of having the trees, so they have to be cut very early. With these you can cut them earlier, and the trees will last right through Christmas and into the new year. But the important thing is to remember that the trees that you can buy all over the country, these Nordmann firs, but a lot of them are trucked from a long way away. A lot come down from Scotland, a lot are imported, and as a supporter of local produce, and as Hampshire farmers markets are supporters of local produce, it's important to make sure that you're buying a tree that's been grown locally and that hasn't had to travel miles and be on the back of lorries and creating a huge carbon footprint. So we're very keen to promote these Nordmann firs that are grown locally, and they're grown for local shops, local people, and that's what we're all about, really. To get trees looking as nice as the ones we've got here, a lot of work has to go in through the year, not only sorting out the weed control and all the rest of it, but actually working on the trees themselves. I'm very lucky in that I've got a team of people that help with the cutting and all that sort of thing, but Jackie here does most of the pruning and the bud rubbing and all the other things that have to be done. So she's going to say a few words about what she does at the time of the year when we're not cutting them.
So in January, after everyone else has put their Christmas trees out and forgotten about them, and hopefully they've recycled them, then we start work in the field doing pruning and bud rubbing. The pruning, basically, you're making the tree into as much of a cone shape as you can to keep it even all the way down and all the way round. So you've got to go round every tree in the plantation and cut off the tongues, which are the growth from the previous year, to stimulate the growth from the next year. And also, I'll show you on this slightly smaller tree, to get the crown right and to try to make them fill out round the top, you have to just take out the middle bud on the top section of the crown, which produces growth like this further up the tree for the following year. So we have a small team, and eventually we get through the whole plantation. So it is kind of an all year round exercise.
Some people will criticise the fact that we're cutting the trees rather than digging them up, because people think that it would be a good idea to replant them and use them again next year. Now, with the Nordmann fir tree, it has what's called a tap root, which goes down. This big tree here would have a root that goes down a metre, so it becomes impractical to actually dig them up, and that's why all Nordmann firs, apart from very small ones, are all cut. But it's still environmentally a very good thing to have a real Christmas tree rather than an artificial one that obviously has been made from fossil fuels, which are not renewable. 1 acre of Christmas trees absorbs the carbon dioxide for 18 people on the planet. Now, that's fine, provided you don't then ruin that good news story by trucking them all over the country. So it ties in with the fact that we're absorbing and helping the CO2 footprint, but also the fact that they're grown locally and delivered locally and enjoyed locally is also part of that story. It completely defeats the object of bring them in on a lorry from Denmark. You've done more damage than good.
We've been coming to Hampshire farmers markets for the past 6 years. We do Petersfield, Romsey, Alton and Winchester. We do Winchester twice, and occasionally we have done Southsea and Emsworth, but they're slightly late because they're just before Christmas and most people have got their trees. We found that we've got a lot of repeat customers that come back year on year to the farmers markets, and obviously they do support the the local growers all year round, who for other produce and meat and vegetables and all the other things that are produced. They just want to know that they're buying a tree that's local, sustainable, and to know where it's come from.
So the plantation here is 6.5 acres, and originally planted over the 3 years that we planted, 2008, 2009, 2010, were 16,500 trees, and they all came as tiny little plants, and were machine planted with planters that I hired from another grower, and the whole lot were put in a day and a half. And it was definitely the way to do it. The thought of actually putting them in by hand was never really uppermost in my mind, so it wouldn't have worked without that. But that now seems a long time ago, and this is the result of what those plants have turned into. The other advantages of having a local tree is that the overheads we've had in growing them aren't as high as ones that are coming from elsewhere. Also, you are dealing, any customers that come to buy the trees are dealing direct with the grower. There's nobody else involved in it, so we can price these trees very competitively. And as anybody would see who comes to the Hampshire's farmers markets over the next few weekends, these trees, which may be perceived to be expensive, won't be. And we have trees in a range of sizes and prices, starting from as little as about £15. So I mean, if you want a really big super tree like this, then it's going to cost you, could be £60–70, but it's quite possible to find trees like that costing double that if they've come in from a long way away. So please come and see our trees, and I promise you'll get a good value tree.